My child, listen to me with a quiet heart, because what I am about to tell you is not a story, not a rumor, not something to entertain your curiosity. I speak to you as a mother who has watched over the earth for centuries, as a mother who has walked through the ruins of your history, as a mother who has seen what happens just moments before the ground splits open under people's feet. You hear the word earthquake and you think of shaking buildings, cracked streets, sirens in the distance, news headlines, numbers on a screen. You see images of people running, crying, holding each other in fear. And then, after a few days, your attention moves on to the next story. The earthquake becomes a statistic, a memory, something that happened over there to those people. But I, your mother, see something very different. Before a single stone falls, before a single wall breaks, before a single crack appears on the surface of the earth, hearts are already shaking inside. Long before the ground trembles, the soul trembles. Long before the earth splits open, consciences are breaking in silence. This is the part the world refuses to see. I want you to imagine something with me. Picture a city at night. Lights glowing in towers, cars moving like veins of light through the streets, screens shining behind windows, people talking, laughing, drinking, dancing, scrolling. To human eyes, it looks alive, powerful, modern, unshakable. But if you could see what I see, you would notice something else. Under the surface, not of the ground, but of the heart, there are already fractures. There is a marriage high above the city, in a bright apartment where two people live like strangers. There is a child in another building, crying alone in a dark room, while his parents argue behind a closed door. There is a young woman sitting in front of a screen, drowning her emptiness in images that destroy her innocence. There is a man smiling in public and dying in secret, chained by addiction, ashamed to ask for help. On the outside, everything looks strong. On the inside, everything is shaking. My child, I am not here to frighten you. Fear alone cannot save anyone. I am here to show you what heaven sees when the word earthquake reaches your ears. You see collapsing structures. Heaven sees collapsing souls. And when both happen at the same time, when the earth and the soul tremble together, this is not a random accident. It is a cry. For so long, my son has called the world with gentle invitations, a stirring in your heart during a mass, a verse that stays with you, a homily that feels like it was spoken directly to you, a conversation that unsettles you, a sudden awareness that your life cannot continue in the same way. These are small inner tremors, merciful warnings, soft knocks on the door of your conscience. Do you remember them? That night when you could not sleep because your mind kept returning to a sin you never confessed. That moment when you felt clearly, I cannot keep living like this, and yet you put it aside. That day when someone you loved told you, with tears, please change, and you felt a deep sting in your chest. Those were tremors, little earthquakes of grace. Sometimes you listened, many times you did not. The world is full of people who walk over spiritual fault lines every day and pretend the ground is safe. They ignore the signs. Relationships poisoned by pride, greed accepted as normal, lies repeated until they sound true, life treated as cheap, God treated as optional. These are cracks. They widen quietly at first. No one hears them, no one sees them, no one cares, but heaven does. My child, I want you to understand this clearly. Not every physical earthquake is a direct punishment from God, but there is a deep mystery between what happens in the soul and what happens in creation. When hearts harden, when love grows cold, when sin becomes a lifestyle and not a wound that needs healing, the world itself groans. When a whole society turns its back on God, the ground under its feet is no longer as firm as it looks. I have watched this pattern repeat through history. A people receives light, mercy, blessings, protection. Time passes, they forget. They begin to trust in their own strength, their own systems, their own towers and technologies. They say with their lives, if not with their lips, "We do not need you." Then come the tremors, moral confusion, broken families, rising violence, emptiness, despair. These inner earthquakes shake more than any Richter scale can measure, and still many refuse to wake up. So sometimes heaven allows the ground itself to speak. When the earth shakes, when skyscrapers sway, when the lights go out and the noise stops, you are suddenly face to face with what you truly are: small, fragile, dependent. In that moment, the illusion of control falls to the floor like shattered glass. Your plans, your schedules, your ambitions, your image, your numbers, your followers, none of that can hold you when the ground moves. And there, in that terrifying silence, many finally whisper, "God, help me." Do you see? The earthquake outside reveals the earthquake inside. But my child, listen carefully. I am not waiting for disasters to speak to you. I am speaking to you now, before. This is why I call this a final warning, not because time is a toy in my hands, but because your soul does not have endless opportunities to respond. The real ground that is at risk of splitting open is not just the soil beneath your feet, but the foundation of your heart. There are people who will hear these words and say, "Interesting, dramatic, spiritual, maybe true. Someday I'll think about it." And then they will turn back to their screens, their distractions, their sins. They will push away the tremor they feel in their conscience, just like they mute a notification they do not want to see. My child, do not be one of them. Right now, as you listen, there is a small tremor inside you. Maybe it feels like uneasiness, maybe like a knot in your throat, maybe like a pressure in your chest, maybe like a gentle sadness that you cannot explain. Do not smother it. Do not drown it. Do not pretend it is nothing. That tremor is my hand on your heart. You expect the prophecy to be about dates, maps, specific places where the earth will crack. But the most urgent part of this prophecy is about you, about where you are standing spiritually, about what will happen to you if the ground of your life moves today. If the world around you broke, if the structures you trust fell, if the comfort you hold disappeared, what would remain inside you? A living relationship with my son? Or only habits, empty words, occasional prayers spoken without love? Would you be able to say, "I know him, I belong to him"? Or would you realize in one brutal instant that you built most of your life far from his will? I am not here to crush you with that question. I am here to give you time to answer it before the shaking comes. Many look at earthquakes and ask, "Where is God?" Heaven looks at hearts and asks, "Where are you?" My child, there is another truth I must tell you. Even in the greatest disasters, even when the ground splits open and buildings collapse, there are always miracles the cameras do not show. A child found alive under rubble after days. A family that should have been in the building but was delayed by something random. A person reconsidering their entire life in those seconds before everything falls. These are moments when my son, through his angels, reaches into the cracks and pulls souls back from the edge. But I do not want your conversion to be a last-second rescue at the edge of the abyss. I want you to walk away from that edge now while the ground is still solid beneath your feet. You have felt tremors in your own story already. Sudden losses, unexpected illnesses, closed doors, disappointments, failures. You called them bad luck, life, stress, crisis. Some of them, yes, were simply part of living in a broken world, but others were warnings, merciful earthquakes of the heart allowed by heaven to break false foundations. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" I invite you to ask, "What is God trying to move inside me through this?" My child, I stand between you and the disasters you do not even see, just as I have stood between nations and catastrophes that were delayed or softened because of prayer, repentance, and sacrifice. My mantle has covered your life more times than you will ever know on this earth. And I tell you, the most dangerous tremor is not the one that breaks your house, but the one that breaks your connection with God. There will be more earthquakes in the world. This should not surprise you. Scripture itself speaks of this. But instead of counting them, measuring them, and arguing about them, I want you to let this truth shake you. Your soul is more fragile than the ground, and yet it is treated with less care. You reinforce your buildings, you buy insurance, you create emergency plans, you store water and supplies. And your heart, do you reinforce it with grace? Do you ensure it through sincere confession? Do you have a real emergency plan for your soul or solo for your physical safety? This is where the final warning begins. Not with a map or a date, but with this question that I whisper to you like a mother. If the earth shakes today, will your soul stand or collapse? Do not answer quickly. Do not answer with pride. Do not answer with fear only. Let the question sit inside you. Let it move things. Let it expose the cracks you have been ignoring. Let it make you uncomfortable enough to change. Because what I will reveal to you next, my child, goes even deeper. Why heaven sometimes stops the shaking. Why sometimes it allows it. And how, even when the ground splits open, there is a way for your soul to remain unbroken in the hands of my Son. My child, let me take you even deeper now, because you asked, why does heaven sometimes stop the shaking and other times allow it? This is a question that has lived in the hearts of many of my children, especially those who have suffered loss and looked up to the sky with tears, saying, "Where were you?" I tell you with all the tenderness of a mother, heaven is never absent, but heaven is also never superficial. When the earth begins to shake, you see only seconds of movement. But before those seconds, there have been years, sometimes decades, of decisions, of ignored warnings, of silent mercies. You see the moment the building falls. Heaven has seen every moment that led to that crack in the foundation, both in stone and in the human heart. There are times when, because of prayer, sacrifice, repentance, and hidden faithfulness, the tremor that was allowed to begin is softened. It still comes, but its force is reduced. A planned trip is changed at the last minute. A child happens to be at a friend's house and not at home. A doctor decides to check something twice. An engineer fixes something small that prevents something great. People call it luck, coincidence, a strange feeling. Heaven calls it mercy at work. There are other times when the shaking is completely stopped. An earthquake that never happens. A disaster that was on the threshold and then dissipates. Models predicted it. Experts expected it. Everything pointed toward it. Yet it didn't come. The world forgets in a day. Heaven remembers the prayers that moved that outcome. The rosaries of a grandmother, the tears of a mother, the offering of a sick person, the adoration of a small group of faithful souls. You will be astonished one day to see how many catastrophes did not happen because of love you never knew about. But then, my child, there are those times that break your heart and mine. Times when heaven, after having delayed and softened and warned over and over again, no longer holds back the full shaking. This is not because God finally decides to be cruel, but because he respects human freedom deeply, even when that freedom walks toward the edge of a cliff. Think of a parent who sees a child running toward a fire. At first, the parent calls gently, "Come back," then louder, "Stop." Then they run, grab, pull away, explain, warn. But if, year after year, the child grows, pulls away the parent's hand, refuses to listen, accuses the parent of being controlling, mean, oppressive, at some point, the parent will be forced to let the child taste the consequence of heat, not because they desire the burn, but because no words are stronger than reality. So it is with hearts, families, societies, nations. Sometimes the only way a person or a people can finally realize we are not God is when something happens that they cannot prevent, cannot fix, cannot cover with noise and distraction. In these moments, heaven does not say, "Good, they suffer." Heaven says, "Now, finally, they may listen." My child, I want you to understand something very clearly. The shaking is never the first choice. It is the last resort. The first choice of heaven is always the whisper, a gentle call to come back, an invitation to confession, a stirring during prayer, a word that lands in the heart like a seed. If the whisper is ignored, then come the small inner earthquakes, crisis in relationships, restlessness in the soul, growing emptiness even when you have everything, moments of failure that crack your pride. If even those are ignored, if the person or the society insists on building higher and higher towers on crumbling moral ground, then, and only then, does heaven sometimes allow outer earthquakes to wake up those who are on the edge of eternal collapse. You ask, "Mother, is every earthquake a punishment?" I answer, look deeper. Many earthquakes are revelations. They reveal what was hidden, the hidden generosity of some, the hidden corruption of others, the hidden fragility of systems and structures that were worshipped as gods, the hidden strength of the poor and simple, who often share the little they have when everything falls. In disaster, masks fall faster than buildings. But now, let us turn our eyes from the world to you again. You do not control the tectonic plates beneath your feet. You do not control the timing of physical disasters. But there is something you can choose, whether the next shaking in your life, whatever form it takes, will destroy you inside or purify you inside. There are souls who go through great physical earthquakes and come out harder, colder, more bitter. They ask, "Why me?" and then close their hearts. They look only at what they lost, never at what was offered in the shaking. The same event that could have broken their pride and opened them to eternity becomes, in their freedom, a doorway to deeper darkness. There are others who go through smaller trials, an illness that does not kill, a job lost, a betrayal, a humiliation, and allow these tremors to turn them toward God. They fall to their knees not in despair, but in surrender. They say with tears, "Lord, I thought I could control my life. I was wrong. I give it back to you." And then from that moment on, even if the world around them shakes later, their soul stands on different ground. My child, the urgency of this message is not that some earthquakes are coming. They have always come and will always come in this world. The urgency is that your heart cannot remain undecided forever. You are living in a time when many foundations are being exposed as weak. Institutions you trusted are crumbling. Leaders you admired are falling. Systems that promised safety are failing. Voices that claim to speak truth are contradicting themselves. This is not just political, social, or economic turbulence. It is a spiritual shaking. Heaven is allowing illusions to crack so that what is solid may be seen. You stand right now in the middle of this. And I ask you, on what are you really building? Not what do you say you believe, not what label you put on yourself, not what people think of you. What is the real foundation of your daily life? Is it comfort? Is it control? Is it money? Is it image? Is it another person? Is it your own emotions? All of these are already shaking in the world around you. If you build on them, you will feel the tremor in every fiber of your being. But if you begin, even today, to move the weight of your life onto my Son, onto His will, His word, His mercy, then even when the ground moves, you will not be lost. Let me explain this to you with an image. Imagine a tall building on unstable soil. It looks impressive. Its glass shines. People admire it, take photos of it, dream of working in it, living in it. Inside there are elevators, offices, apartments, decorations, screens. Everything seems modern and solid. But deep below, the soil is soft, cracked, full of hidden voids. The day the earth shakes, that building is in danger, no matter how beautiful it looks on the outside. Now imagine a simpler house on rock. No luxury, no height, no glass, no fame. Just strong, quiet foundations. When the shaking comes, it may lose a window, a tile, a wall may crack, but it stands. Many souls today are like the tall building on unstable soil. Their lives look impressive. Success, followers, possessions, travel, influence. But their roots are not in God. A single strong earthquake, physical or spiritual, and everything collapses. Others appear simple, almost invisible, ignored by the world. Their life is prayer, humility, hidden sacrifices, fidelity in daily duties. They are houses on rock. When the shaking comes, they tremble, yes, but they do not fall. My child, you do not need to become spectacular. You need to become rooted. Rooted in prayer, rooted in truth, even when it hurts. Rooted in these sacraments not as a habit only, but as lifelines. Rooted in forgiveness, even when it feels impossible. Rooted in trust, even when you do not understand. You say, Mother, I am weak. I don't know how to do this. And I say to you, you do not build your foundation alone. When you take one step, heaven takes 1,000 toward you. When you begin to pray again, even awkwardly, your angels rejoice and surround you. When you go to confession sincerely, centuries of darkness can be broken in one act of humility. When you forgive someone who hurt you deeply, a chain of bitterness that has tied generations can be snapped in an instant. These are inner earthquakes of grace. They shake hell itself. Do you see now why the enemy wants you numb, distracted, constantly busy? He is not afraid of physical earthquakes. He is afraid of your conversion. He doesn't tremble when a city collapses. He trembles when a soul says, Enough, I will not live far from God anymore. This is why I speak of final warning, not as a countdown to dates on a calendar, but as a call to stop postponing the only decision that matters. Will you finally let God be the foundation of your life? I know you are tired of fear. You are tired of endless predictions. You are tired of hearing doom and disaster without hope. So listen well. Even if the greatest earthquakes still to come shake the earth, there is a place that cannot be touched, the heart of my Son. If you live inside that heart, you will feel pain, yes. You will cry, yes. You may lose much, yes. But you will not lose yourself. In the time that is coming, there will be two kinds of people. Those who ask only, how big will the next disaster be? And those who ask, how deep is my foundation in God? The first will be tossed around by every tremor, their peace controlled by headlines and rumors. The second will feel the shaking, but will stand like trees whose roots reach deep underground, drinking from a hidden river no drought can dry. My child, I want you to be among the second. There is one more thing I must reveal to you, because it is part of this prophecy. Before some of the greatest physical earthquakes, there will be spiritual foreshocks. You will notice a growing division between light and darkness, even within families, a clearer separation between those who want God and those who reject Him, a rising hatred toward what is truly holy, an increasing confusion where evil is called good and good is called evil. These are the cracks spreading under your feet. They are signs not to panic, but to prepare, not just to store food and water, though prudence has its place, but to store grace, to fill your lamps with oil, to reconcile with God and with others, to live as if your soul truly mattered more than your comfort. In the shaking that is coming, whether in your personal life, in your country, or in the world, my son will not ask you, "How much did you predict correctly?" He will ask, "Did you trust me? Did you love? Did you repent when I sent you the first tremors of grace?" And I, your mother, will stand beside him, whispering your name, interceding for you, reminding him of every small step you took toward heaven, every tear, every effort, every act of faith in the dark. So now, my child, as we move forward, I will show you even more. How heaven trains certain souls to become anchors in the middle of earthquakes, how you can become one of those souls, and how, even as the world trembles, a hidden network of hearts rooted in God will hold up more lives than you can imagine. My child, now I must speak to you about something that heaven treasures more than all the gold of the earth, something the world almost never notices. The souls that become anchors in the middle of the earthquakes. You have heard of prophets, saints, mystics, great public figures of faith, but many of the anchors I speak of are hidden. No one knows their names. They are not on stages. They do not have microphones. They have no followers, no platforms, no visibility. And yet, in the eyes of heaven, they are like massive pillars holding up parts of the world that would have already collapsed. I want you to imagine the earth again, but this time not with fault lines of rock, but with threads of light running through it. Thin glowing lines connecting one heart to another, one home to another, one small chapel to another. These threads are prayers, sacrifices, acts of trust, tears offered to God, rosaries whispered in the dark, silent masses attended by people who could have chosen comfort instead. Where these threads meet and knot together, heaven sees something like an anchor, a soul, or a group of souls that has decided, sometimes without fully understanding it, to stay faithful no matter how much the ground moves. What does it mean to be such an anchor? It does not mean never being afraid. It does not mean never trembling. It does not mean never questioning, never crying, never feeling weak. It means that, in spite of all of that, the soul returns again and again to the same place. My God, I trust you. I don't understand everything, but I will not let go of your hand. Heaven trains these souls slowly. Sometimes their training begins with personal earthquakes, a loss that crushes them, a sickness that weakens them, a betrayal that slices their heart, a failure that breaks their pride. They could use those moments to grow bitter, to turn inward, to close themselves. Many do. But the ones who become anchors make a different, almost invisible choice. Instead of running away from God, they run toward Him, even if they feel numb, even if they feel abandoned. They pray when they feel nothing. They go to Mass when it seems dry. They continue to forgive when they are tired of forgiving. They keep their hearts open when it would be easier to shut down. With each of these decisions, the roots of their soul push deeper into the heart of my Son. On the surface, they look ordinary. Inside, they are changing the balance of things. Let me show you some of them, as I see them. There is an old woman who lives alone. Her children rarely visit. Her body hurts. She moves slowly. The world says her useful years are over. But every morning, she takes her rosary in her trembling hands and says, "Lord, I offer you this day for all those who are far from you. Have mercy on them." She prays for priests, for families, for the youth, for those who will die that day. No one on earth notices, but every bead of her rosary is like a weight dropped into the sea, steadying a boat in the storm. She is an anchor. There is a man who has battled a hidden addiction for years. He has fallen many times. The enemy tells him he is a hypocrite, hopeless, worthless, but he keeps getting up. He keeps going to confession. He keeps asking for mercy. One day, during a terrible inner earthquake, when he is tempted to give up completely, he throws himself before the tabernacle and says, "Jesus, I cannot do this without you. If you don't hold me, I will fall forever." That cry, that surrender, becomes a turning point. Grace floods in. His slow conversion becomes a bridge of hope for many others. He is an anchor. There is a young woman who lives in a noisy world that laughs at purity, mocks faith, and worships image. She feels the pull of it. She is not immune, yet somewhere inside she senses that her body and soul are sacred. She chooses Jesus again and again, often with tears and loneliness. She offers her struggle for other young people trapped in chains they don't even see. Her quiet yes in hidden places gives heaven permission to rescue souls who are drowning in darkness. She is an anchor. There is a married couple who could have separated. Their relationship has been through storms beyond what others know: infidelity, harsh words, patterns of hurt. One day, standing on the edge of collapse, they choose something wild and hard: to rebuild with God. They seek help. They forgive deeply. They choose to love when the feeling is gone. Their home becomes a refuge for their children instead of a battlefield. They are anchors. My child, these stories are not fantasies. Souls like these exist in every generation. They are in your city. They may be in your own family. You might even be one of them without realizing it. Do they stop every earthquake? No, but they change what the earthquake does. Because of them, a disaster that would have killed many kills fewer. Because of them, a tremor that would have crushed hope becomes the beginning of conversion. Because of them, instead of collapse being the final word, shaking becomes a door through which many pass into a deeper life with God. You see statistics. Heaven sees anchors. You ask, "Mother, can I become one of these souls?" And I tell you, yes, my child. That is why I am speaking to you this way. Becoming an anchor does not require perfection. It requires perseverance. It requires a decision. I will not walk alone anymore. I choose to stand, weak as I am, on Jesus. Let me tell you what you can do even now to begin living as one of these anchors in the time of earthquakes. First, return to real prayer. Not only words rushed at night, not only formulas repeated without attention. Sit before God with your heart open. Speak honestly to Him. Tell Him your fears, your sins, your wounds, your anger, your confusion. Then listen, even if you hear only silence. The anchor is not built in noise. It is built in quiet trust. Second, reconcile with God in truth. Do not carry years of sin like stones in your soul. Do not leave your conscience cracked until the day of a disaster. Go to confession sincerely. Name what you have done. Do not excuse it. Do not hide it. Let His mercy wash through the fault lines of your heart and fill them with grace. Each true confession is like concrete being poured into the cracks. What used to be fragile becomes firm. Third, forgive and ask to be forgiven. You cannot be an anchor if you carry hatred like a burning coal inside you. You may feel you have every right to hold on to your anger. The wounds are real. I see them. But as long as you keep nursing these wounds with bitterness, the enemy will use them as fault lines to shake you. Forgiveness does not mean saying it was nothing. It means placing the debt into the hands of my Son and saying, I will not be my own judge and executioner anymore. You judge, you heal, you save. Some earthquakes in families stop the moment one person truly forgives. Fourth, offer your suffering. The world teaches you to escape pain at all costs. Heaven teaches you something different. When you unite your suffering to the cross of my Son, your pain becomes a channel through which mercy flows into the world. The sickness you did not choose, the loneliness you did not want, the insult that humiliated you, the rejection that broke your heart, all of these can become seeds of grace if you say, Jesus, I offer this with you for souls, for those who are about to fall in the next earthquake of their life. You have no idea how many people are held up by crosses you quietly carry. Fifth, live with eternity in mind. Earthquakes are frightening because they remind you that everything material is temporary. Anchors are souls who have already accepted this truth deeply. They love the good things of earth, but they do not cling to them as if they were gods. They live, work, plan, build, but always with this awareness. I will not be here forever. My true home is with God. Sai, when the earth shakes, these souls tremble, but they are not crushed, because they had already let go of what could not last. My child, being an anchor does not guarantee that you will never suffer loss. Some of the greatest anchors in history have lost almost everything in this life, but nothing can take away from them the fruit of their faithfulness, the soul saved through their hidden yes, the glory prepared for them in heaven, the embrace of my Son who will look into their eyes and say, you held on when others let go. You trusted me in the dark. Through you, I saved many. I want you to see one more thing. When the world experiences a great earthquake, physical or spiritual, there is a moment afterward when everything is fragile. People are more open. Hearts are more vulnerable. Masks are thinner. At that moment, anchors become lifelines. In the confusion, someone will remember your peace. In the panic, someone will remember your faith. In the ruins, someone will run to you and say, tell me what you know. Tell me how you stand. Tell me how to find God. That is when your hidden preparation will bear its visible fruit. The way you prayed in silence, the way you carried your cross, the way you forgave, the way you loved when it was hard, all of that will give weight to your words. The world does not need more opinions when it shakes. It needs witnesses, not people who just repeat religious phrases, but people whose lives themselves have gone through earthquakes and have not fallen because they were rooted in my Son. My child, I am forming such witnesses now, quietly, in every country, in every generation. Some are young, some are old, some are strong, some are weak. Some are healthy, some are sick, some are known, most are hidden. I want you to be among them. You do not need to know how many earthquakes will come. You do not need to know where or when or how. You need to know who must live at the center of your life. The time is coming and is already here, when the difference between those who are anchored in God and those who are not will be as clear as the difference between a house on rock and a tower on sand. While many chase signs and timelines, I am giving you something far more valuable: the chance to become stable in a world that will grow more unstable. Soon, I will speak to you about something even more solemn: how the greatest shaking of all is not a movement of the earth, but a moment of truth when every soul will see itself in the light of God, and why this inner earthquake, if you accept it now, can spare you from the terror of meeting it unprepared later. My child, come closer now, because we are approaching the most solemn part of what I must show you. Until now, I have spoken to you about earthquakes outside and earthquakes inside. I have spoken to you about foundations, anchors, and hidden souls who keep standing when everything else falls. But there is a shaking even greater than all of these, one that does not crack streets or break buildings, yet reaches to the deepest place of every human being. This greatest shaking is not the movement of the earth. It is the moment when heaven moves toward your soul. There will come a time, both in your personal story and, in a mysterious way, in the story of many at once, when God will no longer allow you to live only on the surface of yourself. A time when the questions you have avoided, the truths you have postponed, the wounds you have tried to cover, the sins you have tried to justify, will stand before you in a clarity you have never known. You may have heard words like judgment and imagined a distant courtroom at the end of your life, far away. Listen to me. Already in this life, there are moments when God allows a preview of that judgment, not to condemn you, but to wake you. These are the inner earthquakes that come when your conscience is suddenly illuminated from above. I want you to imagine something. You are walking through your day, busy with everything that seems urgent: messages, tasks, noise, conversations. Your mind is scattered. Your heart is half asleep. Then, for reasons you cannot explain, something stops you. It might be a simple phrase you hear. It might be a line from scripture. It might be a memory. It might be a look from someone you love. Or it might be a moment of silence that feels heavier than usual. And in that silence, it is as if a light is turned on inside your soul. Not a harsh, cold light, but a light so true that you cannot escape it. In that light, you see your life differently, not as you tell it to others, not as you justify it to yourself, but as it really is. You see the times you loved and the times you refused to love. You see the people you helped and the people you ignored. You see the chances for mercy that you used and the ones you threw away. You see your excuses fall to the floor, one by one, because they no longer fit in the presence of that light. In that moment, my child, the soul shakes more than any building. Some people, when this happens, burst into tears without knowing why. Others feel a deep heaviness, a sorrow that is different from depression. It is like a wound finally exposed to air. Others feel an almost physical shame, not because God is humiliating them, but because they suddenly realize how far their life has drifted from what they were created to be. This is not cruelty. This is mercy in its most intense form. God allowing you to see yourself as He sees you, not to destroy you, but to heal you. You have tasted small versions of this already, even if you didn't recognize them. That day when you remembered a sin from long ago and felt pierced, as if it had just happened. That night when you thought about your words and wished you could take them back. That moment during prayer when you suddenly saw the truth about a habit, a relationship, a pattern you always defended. Those were tremors of this deeper shaking. But there will come a moment for each soul when this illumination will become more complete. For some, it will happen slowly, through a process of conversion in this life, For others, it will come more suddenly, like lightning in a dark sky. And for all, it will be one of the most decisive experiences of existence. Imagine your entire life as a house with many rooms. Some are bright and open, the things you are proud of, the ways you have loved, the prayers you have said, the sacrifices you have made. Others are dark, rooms you rarely enter, doors you keep locked, corners where you have pushed your guilt, your secrets, your hidden past. In this inner earthquake, the doors all open. The light of God passes through every room. No corner is left untouched. You see not only what you did, but why you did it. You see how even your good actions were sometimes mixed with pride, vanity, self-interest. You see how your sins affected others, rippling through their lives in ways you never considered. You see the faces of those you hurt, those you failed, those you refused to forgive. For many, this will feel unbearable at first. They will want to close their eyes, to run, to shout, "Enough!" But there is nowhere to run except into the arms of the one whose light is revealing all of this. Here is the secret, my child. The same light that reveals your sin is the light that reveals His mercy. You will see at the same time every moment that my Son tried to reach you, every inspiration you rejected, every chance you had to come back, every person He sent to you as a sign, every time He placed His cross between you and the full consequences of your choices. You will see that you were never alone, even when you acted as if you were. You will see that if you are alive to face this moment, it is because mercy has kept you breathing. For some, this realization will be like a second birth. Their soul will break open in humility and trust. They will cry out, "Forgive me, I did not understand, I wasted so much. Take what is left and make it yours." In that cry, grace will rush in with a force more powerful than any earthquake on earth. They will be changed, sometimes in an instant, sometimes over time, but that moment will mark them forever. For others, this same experience will be the beginning of a refusal. They will see the light and hate it. They will feel the truth and push it away. They will look at the wounds of my son and say, "I don't care." They will cling to their pride like a drowning person clings to a stone, not because the light was too weak, but because their no has become their God. This is the most tragic shaking of all, not when the ground breaks, but when a human heart breaks away from God, even when God is offering Himself fully. My child, I tell you all this not to make you afraid of that moment, but to help you desire to meet it prepared. You do not need to wait passively for some great mystical experience. You can ask, even now, "Lord, let your light come into me, gently if possible, strongly if necessary. Show me the truth about my life. Shake what must be shaken before it is too late. I don't want to meet your light as a stranger. I want to start living in it now." Every honest examination of conscience, every confession made with sorrow and sincerity, every time you stand before God and say, "Here I am, this is who I really am," is already a small participation in this inner earthquake. And here is a mystery that few consider. The more you allow this shaking now, the less terrifying it will be later. The soul that regularly lets God's light in, that repents, that changes, that starts again, will not be shocked to discover who they really are. They will already have walked many steps in the truth. The final illumination will not be a violent surprise, but the completion of a journey they already began. The soul that refuses this process, who lives in denial, who uses distractions, pleasures, ideologies, or even religious appearances to avoid looking at themselves honestly, will feel that same light as an earthquake of terror. not because God wanted it that way, but because they chose darkness as their comfort. Remember this: God's light is always the same. It is the heart that changes how it feels. My child, you live in a time when many inner earthquakes are beginning to stir. There is confusion, yes. There is deception, yes. But there is also an immense wave of mercy moving through the world, offering millions of souls the chance to see themselves and change before time runs out. Sometimes this mercy will come to you quietly through prayer, sometimes through a crisis that breaks your routine, sometimes through a word that pierces you, sometimes through the example of someone whose faith humbles you. Do not run from these moments. Do not numb them with noise. Do not joke them away. Do not harden yourself. When you feel something deep inside saying, "This is for you," do not answer. Maybe later. There are laters that never come. Instead say, "Yes, Lord. It hurts to see this, but I would rather tremble now in your mercy than tremble later without having chosen you." Let me tell you something else that few understand. During great physical earthquakes, when people are afraid, trapped, near death, there are countless invisible inner earthquakes happening at the same time. A man who has been far from God for decades sees his life flash before him and finally whispers, "Forgive me." A mother buried in rubble clings to her child and offers her life for them. A young person who never thought about eternity suddenly sees clearly that everything they chased was empty compared to the one they ignored. In these moments, my son is astonishingly close. The angels move with a speed beyond imagination, carrying grace into cracks that have never been opened before. Some souls make in 5 minutes a journey they refuse to make in 50 years. Do you see why I do not speak to you only of fear, but of opportunity? The world will continue to shake. Nations will shake. The church will shake. Families will shake. Your own life will shake. But above all, consciences will shake. I come as a mother, not to tell you every detail of how and when, but to teach you how to stand when it happens. Stand not because you are strong, not because you are clever, not because you predicted correctly, but because you have chosen a simple, clear path to live in the light of God day after day as honestly as you can with my hand holding yours. There is one more crucial truth I must share with you. Many of my children imagine God's judgment as a cold courtroom where a distant judge lists their sins with a frown. But for those who choose mercy now, the moment of judgment will be more like walking into a light that loves you, a light that burns away what is false and reveals with joy everything in you that responded to grace. You will see not only your failures, but your hidden yeses, the prayers you forgot, the tears you wiped from someone's face, the patience you had when no one thanked you, the temptations you resisted when no one saw you, the faith you held onto when you felt nothing. All of that will shine. For those who rejected mercy, the same light will show how much love they refused. That will be their greatest pain. My child, I am not giving you these words so you can fear the future with more detail. I am giving them to you so that today, not tomorrow, you will begin to cooperate with this great inner earthquake of grace. When you kneel and say, "Lord, show me where my foundation is weak," when you dare to look at your life honestly, when you ask for forgiveness and give forgiveness, when you allow your pride to crack so humility can grow, you are already living this prophecy in the holiest way. The final shaking, whatever its form, will not find you unprepared if you let your soul be shaken by truth and healed by mercy now. Soon, my child, I will speak to you about one last mystery: how in the midst of all these earthquakes, inner and outer, my immaculate heart and the heart of my Son become the safest ground in existence, a place where no tremor, no collapse, no disaster can separate you from the love that has been pursuing you all your life. My child, you have heard me speak of many tremors, those that shake the earth, those that shake societies, those that shake families, and especially those that shake the soul. Now I must bring you to the only place where no earthquake of any kind can destroy you, the heart of my Son and my own heart united with his. You may have heard these words many times: Sacred Heart of Jesus, Immaculate Heart of Mary. To some they sound like holy phrases printed on images, like something distant, poetic, maybe beautiful, but not practical. However, in heaven, these two hearts are seen as the safest ground in existence, a ground that does not crack, does not collapse, does not shift with the times. Let me explain. Think of all the ground you have tried to stand on in your life, the ground of others' approval, the ground of your achievements, the ground of your plans, the ground of your health, the ground of your intelligence, the ground of your possessions. At one point or another, each of these has trembled beneath you. A word of criticism can make the ground of approval shake. A failed project can crack the ground of your achievements. A diagnosis can shatter the ground of your health. A single moment of humiliation can expose how fragile the ground of your pride really is. There is only one ground that never changes: the love of my Son for you, and the love he has placed in my heart for you. This love does not depend on your success, your feelings, your performance, your perfection. It is steady when you are unstable. It is faithful when you are unfaithful. It is strong when you collapse. It is pure when you are tired of your own compromises. To live in the heart of Jesus is not a pretty concept. It is the most solid spiritual reality. It means that you choose, day by day, step by step, to move the weight of your life onto His will, His mercy, His truth, His presence. To live in my immaculate heart means allowing me to mother you, to cover you, to help you stay close to Him when the shaking of the world and of your own emotions would normally pull you away. Let me speak to you very concretely. There are many who say with their lips, "Jesus, I trust in you," but they live as if everything depended only on themselves. They carry every fear, every responsibility, every burden alone. And when the earth shakes, they panic, because their trust was more in their plans than in my Son. There are others who say with their lips, "Mary, be my mother," but they do not let me into their real struggles. They keep me at a distance as a beautiful statue, as a religious symbol, but not as a living mother who can enter their kitchen, their workplace, their marriage, their wounds. My child, I long to be real for you. Not an idea, not an image on a wall, not just a title. Real. I want you to picture something with me. A violent earthquake begins in a city. Buildings are swaying. Alarms are sounding. People are running in every direction. Inside one of those buildings, there is a small chapel. The walls shake. The lights flicker. Dust falls. But in the center of that chapel, there is a tabernacle. And inside that tabernacle, my Son is present truly in the Eucharist. Around that tabernacle, a few people have fallen to their knees, not because they are not afraid, but because they know who is there. They cling to the floor, but they cling even more to Him. Some cry, some are silent. One whispers over and over, "Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you." They are trembling, but the one before them is not. Now imagine that same scene inside your soul. When the earthquakes of life begin, the disaster you didn't expect, the loss you didn't plan, the news you didn't want, the inner crisis that shakes every certainty. What is in the center of your soul's chapel? Is it your ego, your fear, your control, your anger, your wounds? Or is it my son? If in the center of your inner chapel you have placed him, through prayer, through surrender, through real relationship, then when the shaking starts, you will know where to go. You may still tremble. You may still cry, but you will run toward the center, not away from it. You will say, "Everything is shaking, but you are not. Hold me." And he will. This is what it means to live in his heart. How do you move there, practically? You begin by speaking to him honestly every day. "Jesus, I invite you into this fear. Jesus, I invite you into this temptation. Jesus, I invite you into this wound. Jesus, I invite you into this decision." You stop dividing your life into holy moments and the rest. You let him into the rest. You ask him, "What do you want here? How do you see this situation? What are you asking me to change?" And when you discover an answer in your conscience, you act, you forgive, you step away from sin, you repair what you can, you trust where you would normally panic. Every one of these acts presses your soul deeper into his heart. And my heart? What part do I play? My heart is like a mantle stretched over those who belong to my son. A mantle that shields, that warms, that calms, that gathers. When you entrust yourself to my immaculate heart, you are saying, "Mother, I don't know how to stay faithful. I don't know how to love your son well. I don't know how to walk through the shaking. So I place myself in your heart. Teach me, protect me, lead me. I do not replace him. I bring you to him." Think of a small child during an earthquake. The child does not know what a tectonic plate is, does not understand structures or engineering. He knows only one thing. Where is my mother? Where is my father? If he finds them, he throws himself into their arms. Even if the building is trembling, even if objects are falling, in those arms he feels safer than anywhere else. My child, in the time of spiritual earthquakes, my heart is those arms. When your thoughts bombard you, when anxiety hits like waves, when the future feels like a dark corridor, you can repeat like a heartbeat, "Mother, hold me. Mother, cover me. Mother, I don't know what to do, but I know I don't want to walk without you." You have no idea how quickly I come when a soul speaks to me like this. You say, "But I don't see you." You don't have to. Do you see the air you breathe? Do you see the wind that holds up the birds? Yet it is there and it sustains life. In a much deeper way, my presence, granted to me by my son, not because I am a goddess, but because I am his mother, moves quietly through the lives of those who call me. I put my hand over their thoughts when they spiral. I place good people in their path. I gently close doors that would lead them to greater harm. I nudge open doors of grace they might have missed. I speak to their heart in the language only a mother knows, and when the ground moves, I stay. Many imagine that, in times of great shaking, heaven moves away. The opposite is true. Heaven presses closer. What moves away is the illusion that you can live without heaven. So how do you practically live inside these two hearts? Let me give you simple, concrete ways, not theory, but steps. Make a daily act of consecration. With your own words or with a simple prayer, say each day, "Sacred Heart of Jesus, I give you my life today. My thoughts, my words, my actions, my fears, my plans. Do in me whatever will lead me closer to you. Immaculate Heart of Mary, Mother, I give myself to you. Place me inside your heart and never let me leave. Guard my mind, my senses, my decisions. Lead me to your Son in everything." Even if you feel nothing, this choice has enormous weight in heaven. It marks you, spiritually, as someone who belongs not to the shifting ground of the world, but to the firm rock of God's love. Stay close to the Eucharist. If you can, go to Mass often, not as a habit only, but as an encounter. When you receive my Son, you are receiving the one who never shakes. You are letting the most stable love in the universe enter the unstable chambers of your heart. If you cannot receive him sacramentally, visit him in the tabernacle. Sit with him even in silence. Say, "You are here, I am here." That is enough for now. In times to come, this simple closeness will be one of your strongest anchors. Pray the rosary not as a formula, but as a rope. Each bead is like a knot tying you to my heart. You may get distracted, you may feel dry, but every time you return, every Ave Maria is a step further away from panic and closer to peace. When the world shakes, those who have held this rope will not be easily torn away. Choose to obey God in the small things. Many worry about whether they will be faithful in great trials. The best preparation is faithfulness in small hidden choices. Turning away from a sin when no one is watching. Choosing truth over convenience. Giving up a comfort out of love. Apologizing when you are wrong. Keeping your word. These are like reinforcing the structure of your soul before the earthquake comes. Love the people given to you. It is easy to talk about humanity and the world shaking, but the ground where your love is tested is your own home, workplace, parish, neighborhood. Do not dream of heroic sacrifices in future disasters if you refuse the small sacrifice of patience, kindness, listening, service today. Hearts that become strong in ordinary love will be capable of extraordinary love when everything else shakes. My child, I know these things sound simple. You might think, but the world feels so dark, the prophecies so heavy, the future so uncertain. Is this really enough? Listen to me. On the cross, my Son did not move mountains in front of the eyes of those who mocked him. He did something that looked small to them. He loved to the end. That love, intimate and invisible inside his heart, shook hell more than any earthquake will ever shake the earth. When you live united to his heart and mine, your hidden fidelity shares in that same power. The day may come when you lose things you never thought you would lose. Places you love may be shaken. Systems you trusted may fall. The news may grow darker. But if you are inside these hearts, you will discover something the world cannot understand. Even in the middle of the shaking, a deeper peace can rise within you. Not a peace of denial, not a peace of ignorance, but the peace of someone who knows. My life is not built on what can be taken away. My life is hidden in the one who cannot be moved. Soon, my child, I will show you how this refuge in our hearts is not only for you, but for many who will come to you when their world starts to crack. How your yes can become a shelter for others, and how, in the darkest tremors of history, a network of souls hidden in the hearts of Jesus and Mary will shine like lights that no earthquake can extinguish.